Hello and welcome to OpenTuition's ACCA Financial Reporting course with me, Chris Barlow. I'm going to go through and take you through the entire course from beginning to end to give you the best possible chance of passing your exam. The following videos are for the FR exam from September 2023, and we'll cover not only September 2023 but also December 2023, March 2024 and June 2024 as well. Okay, I will then update this video this time next year. For those of you who have been to OpenTuition before, you know how it all works. Welcome back. To those of you who haven't been to OpenTuition before and have stumbled across us on YouTube or elsewhere, welcome. It's great to have you on board, and I hope we do you justice in getting you through that exam. So what are we going to be looking at in the next 20 minutes or so? We're just going to go through, talk what is on the syllabus for financial reporting. This follows on from financial accounting, so what knowledge should you bring forward into financial reporting from financial accounting. As I said, this set of videos is for September 2023 onwards. So what happens if you're resitting from previous guises of the exam, or what happened if you started studying and then decided to defer the exam? So have there been any changes to the syllabus? I'll let you in on a secret. There's virtually none. We'll talk about the exam in terms of how it's structured, what the pass rates are. We'll look at some useful resources, not just from ourselves here at OpenTuition, but also with the ACCA. And then we'll just finish things off with some keys to success. What do you really need to do? What do you really need to focus upon to enable you to get that 50% pass mark within the exam? So let's look at the syllabus, because for financial reporting it looks like this. There are 5 pillars to it. Ignore the one at the bottom, demonstrate employability and technology skills. It's a computer-based exam whereby you're going to be given either a blank Word type document or an Excel type document. So you need to go through there and answer the questions using that blank Word or blank Excel style document. And that effectively is you then demonstrating your employability and technology skills to communicate your answer in an appropriate fashion. So effectively, by doing the exam and doing the exam well, that sort of covers syllabus area E. The rest of the syllabus, A, B, C, and D, is what you see within the exam questions themselves. So the first part of the syllabus is all about the conceptual and regulatory framework. So looking at the fundamental principles that drive financial reporting, looking at the qualitative characteristics of things that you will have seen briefly within financial accounting. The key thing that is different is that in financial accounting it is very much knowledge based. Here it's much more about applying those concepts to specific or certain scenarios. So you won't be asked what does verifiability mean or timeliness. It's all about applying the concepts of the accruals concept to a particular transaction. The next area of the syllabus is about accounting for transactions in accordance with IFRS accounting standards. So effectively, that's just having a knowledge of IFRSs and IASs and being able to demonstrate how to treat them correctly within a set of financial statements. So there'll be some assumed knowledge brought forward from financial accounting, but then there'll be newer areas such as financial instruments, leases, which we'll touch upon as and when is necessary. C is all about analysing and interpreting the financial statements, so effectively making the numbers talk. And this is a key employability skill, effectively, in that, yeah, the technology, the artificial intelligence can go through and crunch all the numbers the way things are going. It might actually do the analysis and interpretation for us, but for the time being, that's over to you. Yeah, being able to take those numbers and paint a picture. Yeah, being able to put it into simplified terms to explain why revenue has moved, why the profit has acted as such, what's happened to the value of the assets and the liabilities, so on and so forth. So it's probably, I think, for students the most challenging aspect of the syllabus, particularly if you haven't got any real-world accounting experience. For those of you who do have real-world accounting experience, that part of the syllabus will actually be okay. For those that don't, it'll be much more challenging. But we'll deal with that later on. Part D is all about the preparation of your financial statements. So it talks about single entities, so for a limited company or a public limited company, but also as well for business combinations. So here we're looking at revisiting groups that you've seen within financial accounting. So effectively here, your financial statements are your statement of financial position, statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, your statement of changes in equity, and your statement of cash flows. Don't worry about any notes to the accounts or any nonsense like that. Not applicable within this exam. That's the syllabus. What knowledge do you think you've forgotten? Trust me, you haven't. Okay. Everyone says, oh, what do I need to do to go back and make sure that I know everything financial accounting related? Nothing. Okay. It's in there somewhere. It's just at the very back of your mind. Yeah, it will come back to you very quickly as you start working the questions that we've given you within the class notes. So things that is brought forward will be your published company account. So how to set out a statement of financial position. Assets equals equity plus liabilities, doesn't it? Statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income. So those revaluation gains that sat within other comprehensive income, and then looking at profit or loss from revenue down to profit for the year with a bit of gross profit, profit from operations and profit before tax thrown within there. And then you've got your statement of changes in equity. Remember, that's very literal, isn't it? It's a statement that shows you the changes in equity. So what's equity? Share capital, share premium, retained earnings, and then your other components of equity such as revaluation surpluses. Okay, we look at how that's moved from the start of the year to the end of the year. Inventory, you don't need to know the standard number, but that's IS2. Everybody likes to remember them anyway, even though you're not going to get examined on the numbers. Inventory, can you remember what the rules were for inventory in terms of how you valued it? What was it? Yeah, it's there, isn't it? Lower of cost and something. Yeah, lower of cost and net realizable value. That's it. That's the brought forward knowledge that you need for this exam. Property, plant and equipment. You must remember property, plant and equipment. No? Seriously? Oh, come on, you're kidding me. Property, plant and equipment, you capitalise your asset at cost. You can then use the cost or evaluation model. You then depreciate the asset unless it is land. You can use straight line or reducing balance. You can then look at how you change from straight line to reducing balance with some sort of change in accounting estimate. Yeah, I knew you could remember it all. It's in there somewhere, isn't it? So we'll see that fairly early on within our syllabus to make sure you get off to a good start. Some of the ones that you might not be so familiar with from the days of financial accounting: intangibles. So those assets that bring value to the business but have no physical substance. It's effectively the same accounting treatment for PPE. Capitalise at cost, but instead of depreciating it, we amortise it, don't we? There's a little bit more to it than that, but we'll touch upon that in the intangibles chapter. Provisions and accounting for uncertainty. We've looked at that, haven't we? In terms of probable, possible, and totally unlikely at all, and how we then account for that within the financial statements. Events after the reporting period. There are two types of I've just given it away. There were two types of events. What were they? You got to get the first one, adjusting. Second one, yep, non-adjusting, wasn't it? Okay, so again, that repeats itself here in financial reporting. And then you've got basic group accounts. So consolidation, 100% of the parent plus 100% of the subsidiaries, assets, liabilities, income and expenses. We then accounted for something called non-controlling interest. We calculated something called goodwill. We did some form of adjustments for intracompany balances and transactions. No. It's a big area of the syllabus, so we'll spend plenty of time recapping that later on. Other areas as well that you've seen: statements of cash flows. You've had to prepare those. You don't have to prepare them at this level in financial reporting. You might have to deal with extracts of the statements of cash flows. You're not going to have to prepare a full statement of cash flows. Analysis and interpretation of accounts, so making those numbers talk. It's all about the ratios from financial accounting. So can you remember any ratios from financial accounting? Yeah, gross margin, operating profit margin, they're profit or loss ones, aren't they? In terms of position, current ratio, quick ratio, gearing, inventory days, receivable days, payable days, they all sound familiar. Yeah, they sound familiar, but you've probably forgotten how to calculate them, so we'll make sure we can calculate them, but also talk about how we then analyze them and give them some reason, meaning behind why they have moved. In terms of the syllabus changes, I can't say there's none because there are some, but they are very, very, very minimal. The biggest change effectively is some of the terminology, but it doesn't really impact you. You probably wouldn't even notice it if you'd sat the exam previously. So it used to say IFRS standards, it now says IFRS accounting standards. Okay, and there's some other minor changes within there that I can't even be, it doesn't bother me. The bigger area, I suppose, that you'll see is all to do with sustainability. That's new. So the International Sustainability Standards Board, the ISSB, have issued the first of their 2 international sustainability standards. So International Sustainability Standard number 1, and can you guess the other one? International Sustainability Standard number 2. So we'll just look at what they are and how it impacts the narrative aspect within your financial statements. It's actually quite interesting. In terms of the exam, similar to all the other exams at this level, Section A, 15 objective test questions, 2 marks each, so is that 30 marks for Section A, right or wrong, no half marks. Section B, 3 questions with 5 OTQs within each of those bigger questions, and each one is 2 marks each. So again, that comes to 10 for each of the questions. 3 questions, that's 30 marks as well, isn't it? Okay. Again, each of those questions will focus on a particular area of the syllabus. So it might be, say, on PPE. 5 objective test questions on PPE, 5 objective test questions on, say, leases, and 5 objective test questions on revenue. Section C, you guarantee 2 questions, 20 marks each, so 40 marks in total for Section C. One of them will definitely be an interpretation of financial statements, so some easy marks always going there for the calculation of the ratios. And then the challenging bit is the narrative, being able to explain the movements and the reasons why. Actually, if you use the question well, you're actually given the answer. The answer is given to you within the narrative, within the question. You just need to spot where it is and get it down on the paper in front of you. And then preparation of financial statements, either an individual or group scenario where you'll have to prepare a statement of financial position or statement of profit or loss, maybe some form of statement of changes in equity. Okay, so it's only going to be one or the other. Okay, you won't get individual and group. It will be individual or group accounts. The exam is 3 hours. There's 100 marks if you've totaled those up, so that is at 1.8 minutes per mark, because 3 hours is 180 minutes. 100 marks, 1.8 minutes per mark. So based on my understanding, there's 30 marks in Section A at 1.8 minutes per mark. It's 54 minutes in total on those questions. The way to approach those is to do the non-computational ones first before then doing the computational ones. The non-computational ones tend to be easier. And then you can deal with the numbers because they take a little bit longer. But don't spend any longer than 54 minutes on those 15 questions. In Section B, you've got 3 questions. Okay. So 5 OTQs, 2 marks each. So that's 10 marks in each of those questions. 1.8 minutes per mark. So that's 18 minutes on each of those. And then on the 20 mark questions in Section C, 20 times 1.8 is 36 minutes each. Okay, there we go. How you approach it is entirely up to you. Okay, we'll talk about that as we go through and then get to revision. Exam pass rate, it's about 50%, I think is what you can gather from that. I think the key thing is not to look at that and go, that's a pretty low pass rate. I think it is. It should be higher. But, you know, I think if you put the work in, if you study the right way, not just study hard, people can study hard and still fail because they don't study the right way. And we'll talk about how to study right in a moment. But if you study the right way, put in the time, you'll pass. If you don't, you'll fail. Okay, it's as simple as that. You can visit the ACCA website. You've got the hyperlink there to get to their resources. Split into two sections. The first one is the Getting Started section. So areas that I'd look at there would be the Introduction to Financial Reporting, because it will talk you through some additional aspects to what I'm talking through here. If you want to look at the syllabus and look at the changes, it's in there. What I like is the Get Ready modules. So that's looking back at financial accounting and just practicing some areas such as PPE, inventory, company accounts, just to get you refreshed and ready and raring to go for financial reporting. The other area on the ACCA website is the Learning and Revision section. Again, all of the sections are important. I think the most important are the past exams and question practice, because you need to work the past exam questions to time to be able to get ready to do the real exam. The examiner's reports are brilliant because they look at past exams and where people have gone well, but more importantly, identify where people have gone wrong and therefore give you some examples of the questions. So there's additional questions hidden in there. Technical articles are brilliant to keep on top of, maybe potential changes or current issues that are taking place within the world of financial reporting, and it helps you understand those IASs and IFRSs in a little bit more depth. And then we'll talk about exam technique, but you're welcome to look at that. And then also the mock exam and debrief is available there. Okay. In terms of us, little old OpenTuition, we've got the class notes, so they're up to date for September 2023 onwards. If you spot any mistakes, please let me know. It's just me doing the FR, so there's bound to be the odd one here or there. I iron them out as I go along. The tuition videos, if there are any missing, I apologise. I will get round to updating them and making sure they are all there. Practice questions, so little multiple choice type questions covering all areas of the syllabus. The flashcards, just to go through and see how your technical knowledge is, whether you know things or don't. There's a few revision videos. We'll try and update more as we go along. So that covers, if you like, exam technique. You've then got the Ask the Tutor forum, whereby I will provide the answers to you. Be kind, be polite. But then you've got the new Ask the AI Tutor forum. Wonderful. So feel free to go and ask AI. Comes with a caveat. There's no guarantee that the answer will be right. Okay, it's artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is knowledge comes from knowledge in the past. Okay, it needs to find that right knowledge to ensure that it's giving you the right answer. Can it find the right answer? Most of the time it can. It's quite good, but on the odd occasion, you've got to be careful. So to finish things off, what are the keys to success? Just know the basics well. If you've got a good foundation from financial accounting with your assumed knowledge, that's going to set you off really, really well. If you don't remember things from financial accounting, don't go back and revise everything. It will come back to you as you go along. But the focus is on the basics. There's complex areas of the syllabus. Read them, look at them. Don't spend too much time trying to understand them. The more you know the basics and can apply them better, the better you'll do in the exam. That said, cover all of the syllabus. Don't go, oh, I don't like revenue. I don't like financial instruments. I'll leave those out and hope they won't come up in the exam. There will be something that comes up within the exam somewhere. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and go, oh, do you know what? I really, really like leases. Everybody likes leases. Great. But don't just spend all your time doing questions on leases just to make yourself feel good. Do the more challenging questions elsewhere to make sure you understand the basics of financial instruments, the basics of revenue to apply within the question. Remember, you need 50% to pass. Don't try to get the answer 100% correct. Well, obviously in section A and B, you do need to get the answer correct. But in section C, with the analysis and interpretation of accounts and preparation of company accounts for a single entity or a group, then get the easier parts first, because if you get the easier parts first, you'll get pretty much 10 marks. So you've passed each of those questions, and then anything after that is a bonus. Okay, don't try and get things 100% right. If you do, you'll go way over the time that you have for each of those questions, which in section C, how long were we to spend on each question? 36 minutes. Okay, 36 minutes on each of those questions. Remember, 20 marks each, 1.8 minutes per mark, 36 minutes each. The biggest key to success is question practice, so make sure you get yourself a revision kit. Doesn't matter who it is, just stick with what you know best. They're equally as good as each other. They are. So just make sure when you get to revision that you are doing those questions to time. Likewise as well, do it on a computer. Replicate the real exam. There's software available on the ACCA website, so use that software to answer your exam questions. Don't answer them on pen and paper. Okay, the way you practice is to replicate the real exam world. Okay, use the forums, so whether it's the ACCA Tutor forum or alternatively Ask the AI Tutor. You'll obviously get a much quicker answer on the Ask the AI Tutor forum. I tend to check the forums on a Wednesday and at weekends, okay, and then I'll answer whatever questions have been posted in those 3 or 4 days. As it gets to revision and the weeks before the exams, I check it more regularly because there are more questions, but I don't have the time available to check it every night when we're at the start of each sitting. Okay, so Wednesdays and the weekends. So all that remains to be said is good luck. Enjoy the course. I hope it all goes well. If you do have any questions, you know where to find me. Connect with me on LinkedIn. You'll find me there. Other than that, very best of luck.